All right, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Success, proudly brought to you by Adamo Property Group. Today, a very special guest. The intro here is so long, I'll rattle off a few things. Former British Commonwealth European champion, first fighter in 100 years to win the Lonsdale belt coming from Salford, record of 32-5, fight of the year with Matthew Macklin, none other than the great man Jamie Moore. Thanks for coming on, pal.
Cheers, Cole. You okay?
Good, mate. Good. Appreciate you coming on today. Let's just chew the fat. Let's just have a yarn and enjoy ourselves, eh?
Let's do it.
All right, man. So, boxing. Why boxing? Where, how, why did you get into boxing, mate?
Mate, no idea really. It probably comes from Rocky.
Yeah.
You know, every kid, you know, still see it now. If Rocky's been on telly, the Monday after, the amateur boxing gyms are full of kids. It's that sort of inspiration. My dad used to sit me in the chair with him when I was a kid and watch Nigel Benn and Mike Tyson. So they was sort of the ones what inspired me from a professional background to get involved in boxing. I just loved the excitement of it. It sort of scared me in a way, which made me more sort of intrigued. Yeah. And I was asking my dad to take me from about 9 or 10. I went once when I was about 10 to a boxing club with my dad's friend. He used to go there and I loved it. But then we didn't have a car at the time, so my dad couldn't take me. And then when I was 13, a friend of mine, Chris Mahoney, who I went to school with, rang me up and said, there's a boxing gym opened up just around the corner for me, and do you want to go? And that was it, the rest is history.
And now you've got your own amateur boxing gym, Walked in ABC.
Yeah.
How's that going, mate? Obviously giving back to the kids in the community and things like that.
Unbelievable. Like, honestly, I mean, obviously, like, as we do this conversation, understand about, so I've been in this game now over 30 years, and without a doubt, it's the best thing I've ever done in boxing. Like, I think as you get older, you start to appreciate a lot of things a lot more, and instead, you know, you can be very selfish when you're young, and I think rightly so sometimes.
Especially as athletes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've got to be selfish as an athlete, and coming through, you do everything for yourself to make sure that you try and succeed to the best of your ability. But then, once you've had that success, and you're content, you know, after I retired, and it took a while, it took 2 or 3 years after retirement to find that contentment. I think you sort of get to a point when you start going, right, you know what, the best thing for me to do now is all that experience, what I've gathered over the years, try and pass it back down. So I always talk about like a conveyor belt, and we're trying to do it this way now. We're trying to start with the kids young and progress them through our amateur club and make them... My thing is with the amateur club is make them better people. Yeah. You know, I wanted an amateur boxing club in my area because there's a lot of problems there, and there'd never been a boxing gym. And I understood how important it can be, a boxing gym in a community like mine where I've grown up, the impact it can have on the kids, not necessarily to make them a world champion, but the life skills it gives them, the work ethic, the respect, the discipline. The vast majority of kids who come through an amateur boxing club, you never see the lessons they take on board. You know, that's very, very small percentage you'll see on the TV fighting for a British title. But the vast majority of them you'll see in everyday life. And I'm seeing people who went to my amateur boxing club bringing their kids to my amateur club now, saying, I want them to have what we had when we was kids. So it's the proudest thing I've ever done.
That's awesome, mate. And you always hear stories of like, oh, this boxing gym saved my life, or this boxing gym sorted me out. And what you talk about there, the discipline, the hard work, the respect. Yeah. If you don't have that in a boxing gym, you're going to get found out.
You are. and do you know what? There's a very small percentage of people in the world who are made out to be a fighter. Yeah. But every single person who walks through a boxing gym gets the lessons what a fighter gets, but at different levels and different sort of times. So regardless of whether you have a fight, if you spend 6 months in a boxing gym, you'll learn life lessons, and a lot of them you'll take on board and use for the rest of your life. That's why I think the so important to have, especially in areas like in Walkden where I've grew up, because there's a lot of depravity. You know, we've done a fit and fed club in school holidays over Christmas. You know, we give out Christmas hampers and stuff. You wouldn't understand the amount of poverty is in an area like that, and a lot of people won't know because people won't say.
Yeah.
You know, the pride doesn't let them. But then we've had a queue outside the gym, or we have a list of people who, you know, in the community, they have social workers who know families who need. And we've been around at Christmas delivering hampers and stuff and giving them food to last them, because they're not in school. The kids won't eat. So I mean, things like that. That's nothing to do with boxing. It's nothing to do with putting a pair of boxing gloves on.
It's about being good people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it creates. And you know, we've got kids who've been at our gym now for 2.5 years, who are getting to the stage now where they're coming back and helping coach the little kids coming through. So it's like a conveyor belt. It just keeps rolling like that. And in 10 years' time, the whole reason of doing it is I want Walkden in 10 years' time to be a better place than it was 10 years before, and then it keep increasingly growing like that and be better and better for everyone.
I definitely think you're on the right track, mate, and big respect for that. You know, you've achieved everything, you've done everything, but now, like you said, we've grown up. We sort of realised that actually giving back feels better.
Yeah.
You know,
I probably sound older than I am when I say stuff like this.
You're 26, aren't you?
I wish I was that young again. But like the way I view it now is that everything, all them achievements, what you think are personal achievements, you're only really gathering them together if you do it right, to get that knowledge together and pass it back down. Because I watched a podcast with Jordan Peterson a few weeks ago, and he talked about creating better people. Yeah. And I was talking with Nige Travis about it. So I mentioned him to Nige, driving back. So we just had Sean had won the British and Commonwealth titles, and we was driving back from Cardiff, and me and Nige was having a conversation. Jordan Peterson's name came up. Nige said, I know him, I've met him. I was like, what?
He knows everyone.
He said, yeah. He said, he came to my gym and we did a podcast for BBC Manchester. I was like, no way. I had a proper fucking FOMO. I was like, I love Jordan Peterson. So the reason they took him there was because the guy who was doing the podcast had been to Nigel's gym before. Nigel had spoke about creating better people. Yeah. And he said, Jordan Peterson's coming on the show. He talks about creating better people, but on a global scale. I think it's ideal if he comes to your gym and we could have maybe a couple of the boxers there to talk about the impact on the gym. So we listened to it on the way home from Cardiff, and I was fascinated, and it made me understand the reason I've done Walkden. But we all guess. So really, I've done it of my own sort of intuition and gone, I think this is the right thing to do. When you see someone like him, who's been around the block so many times and understands, he's sort of a lot more worldly aware than I ever will be, saying the same type of stuff as what you're thinking along the same lines, just confirmed that is the reason why we're doing it.
It's getting that, not that it's needed, but getting that external validation from someone who's more educated than I or we. And
exactly.
Like, you know,
especially someone you respect so much.
And a lot smarter than you and I can put together.
Absolutely. Listen, we might be streetwise, but we're certainly not smart compared to people like that.
No, but I think, you know, the reason why I'm starting this podcast is to share stories of what people deem as success. And I ask everyone what they determine as success. And for me, I'm trying to share stories to try and help people.
Yeah.
I want people to hear the guest's journey and the struggles, and they might go, you know what, shit, I'm going through something similar. If Jamie can do it, I can do it. Or, you know, I thought about opening a gym to give back. Well, Jamie, I'll do it. You know, so this is coming from a place of giving too.
We just sort of veered off track then when we was talking, so we'll probably do that a few times because you end up going down
That's what we do.
But the reason why we talked about that then was like the reason why you do it. And I think success as an individual. So I didn't achieve probably what I could have, but I achieved far more than I ever expected of myself. So depending on your mindset, I've either been successful or I've not been successful because I've not achieved what I could have achieved. So you've got to be positive in everything, or you've got to try and be. And that's, I think, a lot of people beat themselves up and knock themselves down when really, validate yourself, be proud of how far you've come, because you could have been a lot worse. There's always somebody worse off than you. So, like, it'd be an absolute crying shame if I'd have gained all that experience from boxing. That's my speciality, is boxing. But you can transfer it into life in certain different formats. But I'm still involved in coaching, and I'd feel like it was a waste of time for me to gain all that experience and not pass it back down to the type of people who was like me when I was 13 and had that ambition and goal. And I talk about it a lot. I talk about it with all my fighters coming through. Is I'm trying to help you not make the same mistakes as me.
Yeah. You're almost like a father to them, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've been so blessed. Like, I've got a good dad. My dad was always there for me. So I was fortunate in that sense. But I've also had massive figures in my life. 4 or 5 different figures. Steve Wood, Oliver Harrison, to name 2 of them, who even though they're not my dad, they've had as much of an impact on my life and given me life lessons and steered me in different directions. The gratitude I've got for people who've been able to do that for me is unbelievable. And that's why I say it'd be a crying shame for me to learn the lessons off them type of people and then keep them to myself. What's the fucking point in that?
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Help people achieve. I don't like people sort of being in a position where they've got the most naturally talented fighters in the world and they just take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the most naturally talented kid, but I fought out of desperation.
Yeah.
I needed to do it because I had nothing else to do. I was a beer delivery guy when I left school. My dad was delivering beer. I got caught stealing cars with my mates when I was 15, and my mum said, "You ain't going anywhere. You're not going out on the streets. You're going to work with your dad."
Yeah.
And the best thing that ever happened to me, because it gave me work ethic, but it made me realise I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life.
No.
I was boxing then,
Yep.
and that's what made me understand you need to apply yourself 100%. So I don't like fighters who are so talented who just take it for granted and don't work as hard, because the best ones are the fighters like Mayweather and Pacquiao, who are unbelievably talented, but also the work ethic matches it as well.
Yeah. It's funny, I got asked the same question the other week on a podcast. It said, when you look back at your career, you're proud of it. And I was sort of the same as you. I sort of probably could have done more. And I heard a quote saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
So who was I comparing my career to?
Of course.
Where I've come from, where you've come from. No one can take that away from us.
Yeah.
No one can take away your achievements, my achievements. But for 2-3 years after I retired, I probably had some regrets. I could have done more.
Yeah.
But then you think, hang on.
Johnny Nelson.
My career happened the way it was meant to happen. Same as yours.
Everything. No, not just your career. I think life.
Yeah.
Life's fucking, it's so complex, and there's so many unknowns what we won't ever understand. But when I first retired, I started doing bits of work for Sky, and it was a godsend because I was still involved in boxing.
Yeah.
And Johnny, I always remember Johnny Nelson saying to me, "How are you coping?" I was like, "All right," but I keep thinking about fighting again, stuff. And he said, "Listen, you won't ever leave you that, because you're a fighter by nature."
Doesn't leave me.
Yeah. He said, "You won't."
No.
Because the reason why you're doing it is because you're made up of certain stuff, and it won't leave you. But let me tell you, it'll take about 3 years until you're content with yourself.
Yeah.
You'll keep thinking about fighting, and then you'll get to the point you'll be content, but it'll be a while. And then again, so he was right. It was roughly 2.5, 3 years. So again, every time I'm coaching a fighter who's coming to their end of career, I try and pre-warn them, because it's always better if you're sort of half anticipate something rather than it being a shock.
Yeah.
So I say, listen, just so you understand, when you retire, Carl Frampton is very similar to me in the sense that I knew he'd be okay when he retired. But he still, I'm not saying he wants to fight again, but he still misses it.
It's exclusive, guys.
Yeah,
coming back.
Still, no. I don't think he'd ever come back, because he achieved so much.
Exactly. Yeah.
He doesn't need to fight, but it never goes away from you.
Yeah.
You sort of, that competitive instinct is always going to be there.
The quickest way for me to not fight again or play rugby again is do one training session.
Yeah,
so I thought,
of course.
Not doing it.
You realise how old your body is then.
Mate, and that it gets frustrating because your mind thinks, I can still do it.
Yeah.
And your body is like, no, mate.
So the best thing is to pass it on to other people.
Exactly, yeah.
See, I'm enjoying seeing the success of other people. I get more, to be honest with you. I've always been a little bit like this. Like, I'd rather give somebody a birthday present than receive a birthday present.
Yeah.
So like Chantel Cameron, the amount of joy I got when she achieved that undisputed world champion was unbelievable. More so than I ever got from my own achievements as a fighter. So it's strange. And like Jack Catterall, when that happened with Jack Catterall against Josh, like, fuck, the stuff I'd seen him go through for 2 years, but always with the ultimate goal of reaching the top of Mount Everest like that.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to him, mate, I know it's fucking brutal, this sport sometimes, and the politics of it can hold you back, but please just stay positive and eventually it'll all come together.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
Yeah.
And then that's the fucking heartbreaking part of it, do you know? But it'll come good for him. I'm certain what's meant for us won't miss us.
No.
And his time will come, definitely.
And when it does happen, it'll be all that much sweeter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I mean, he should have had 4 or 5 belts that night.
Yeah.
And no, I'm certain eventually, one day, he'll have him. And it'll be a longer road than he expected, but ultimately he'll end up with the same destination.
He'll look back at those trials with joy.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like, this is so
life
much
lessons.
Yeah.
And then one day he'll pass them back down to someone else.
Hopefully, mate, because that's, again, just breeding better and better people.
Yeah, exactly that, yeah.
So let's go back to you. I know you don't like talking about yourself.
Not
But
really,
not really. British Commonwealth European champion.
Yeah.
How was that, mate? Like, obviously, you've gone through your amateurs, you've gone through beer delivery. It's your Mount Everest each time.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
that journey to get there, to get those belts, put them on your shoulders.
I think when you grow up in an area like we've grown up, not many people come out of it and have success. So by that rule, the people you're surrounded with aren't used to stuff happening like that. So and understandably, they don't believe in it. So then it makes it harder for you because every time you're talking about it, it's people are going, fucking hell, that's a big ask.
Yeah.
So I've got to say this, and I didn't really understand or realise this at the time. It's only in hindsight now I understand it. Ricky Hatton was such an inspiration to everybody in Manchester because he did something and achieved something what was relatable to us.
Yeah.
So I fought Ricky as an amateur. We'd seen him on the amateur scene. Everyone understood how good he was, but he was just a normal lad like us.
Yeah.
So he turned pro earlier than me. He was a couple of years earlier. So to see him, his journey sort of
blazed the way for you a bit.
Yeah, you watch him start doing it, start achieving things, start beating good fighters, people talking about him in America, and then you start going, fucking hell, he's just like me.
Yeah.
So if he can do it, why can't I do it? So that mindset, then he flips you and you go, so I remember, and I don't even know if my mum will ever remember this, but I'd turned pro,
Mum.
and we were sat watching Wayne Alexander versus Paul Samuels for the British title. And it was a fucking war. And Alexander knocked him out in the 3rd round. And I said, they're my weight.
Yeah.
I said, I'll beat him. I'll be British champion. And my mum said, do you think? And I was like, I'll beat him, no problem. She went, I don't know about that, Jay. Now, I was at the point, though, in that part of my life where I was thinking, you're not going to tell me I ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant in a bad way. She was just being honest.
Yeah.
And it's just brutal.
That's the boxing mentality, though.
The fight, what we just watched, was brutal.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, but I think that was 2001 or 2002. By 2003, I didn't fight Wayne Alexander for it. Wayne Alexander gave the British title up, and then I boxed at a vacant title. But I through the experiences, what had led up to that point, I'd built the belief in myself then, coupled with the people you meet. Oliver Harrison came into my life at just the right time and gave me the confidence when I didn't really have it. I lost my first fight to Scott Dixon, And I got taught lessons in that fight, which made me win fights I would have lost it if I'd not got the lessons.
Yep.
So everything happened for a reason. But without a doubt, Oliver Harrison changed my life forever.
Yeah, rest in peace. You defended it and won it 7 times, the British title.
Yeah.
You're learning some stuff
I think
there.
there's only 1 or 2 fighters who've made that many defences.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, again, politics. I shouldn't have really been around the British title level for that long.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You know, it just, again, circumstances. I had injuries as well, held me back a lot. When I look at the back end of my career, I have no idea how I fought so often. I had 4 operations, 2 on each shoulder, in 4 years, and I still fought 9 times or something like that.
You're mad.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it, because I was constantly doing rehab, straight into a fight, another operation, rehab. It was insane.
Does that come from, though, do you think there's obviously there's pride there, you want to fight, you want to compete, but also as a man, you want to provide, you want to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Your expertise is fighting and boxing.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't do that, you almost feel like, especially in your prime, you're like, well, what can I do? What can I bring to my family? What can I bring to my people around me besides fight? I'll do anything to do it.
Cool. I had young kids.
Yeah.
So my son was born 2005, my daughter 2007. Just at the point where I had my first operation 2006.
There you go.
So right in between, I'm then in a situation, and unfortunately, I was earning good money, but virtually every time I boxed, the purse what I'd got for the last fight had just about running out, so I never got chance to accumulate any money. So I retired with no money.
Yeah.
So, and again, going back to the beginning of this conversation, I could be sat here bitter, going, I didn't get anything out of boxing. Fucking boxing's given me so much.
Yeah.
It's like so much.
Yeah.
Could it have given me more? Of course it could. But fucking hell, don't be ungrateful.
Yeah.
Appreciate what it's given me. He's still giving me now. It gives me, like, we went to Abu Dhabi for Chantel's Undisputed fight, and my son, 17-year-old son, who's boxing now, got the opportunity to come to Abu Dhabi, spend a week there around fight camp, the most unbelievable experience he could have ever had. Through, really, when you connect the dots backwards, through my involvement in boxing, he would have never got that experience.
And that's giving back to your kids, like that.
It's life experience what he would never have got.
And talking about boxing could have given you back, you certainly gave boxing fans plenty to enjoy, mate.
Yeah.
We talked through the contender for Fight of the Year with Matthew Macklin.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've watched that. I don't know how you do it.
I know.
How you did it.
Mate,
What's going through your head? Because that was brutal, man.
I don't. It's weird.
Blacked out and just started throwing.
Honestly, it's really weird. So,
and then you trained him in the end.
Rewind back. We're talking about why did you get in boxing?
Yeah.
Nigel Benn, Mike Tyson was my 2 heroes when I was growing up. Exciting fighters. I wanted to be like them.
Yeah.
And then obviously bring into the equation Rocky, where he's just fucking.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's all theatre and stuff.
Yeah.
But the sport I love, some of the best fights I used to love watching Ben Eubank and Nigel Benn, Gerald McClellan, even though the ending was horrible, that fight I loved it. I was so intrigued with how do you go through that? What is it like to experience that? How do you do it? And I'd spoke to Michael Brody. One of the first pro boxing events I went to was Michael Brody and Neil Swain for the British title, and that was Fight of the Year. A horrendous fight. And I remember being sat there ringside as a 17, 18-year-old going, fucking hell, this is insane.
Yeah.
So in many ways, I think my mind was being prepared.
Been programmed for that, wasn't it?
For years before.
Yeah.
Intrigued by it. And so in a lot of ways, during that fight, so don't forget, conditioning wise, I knew it was going to be physically such a hard fight.
Yeah.
So I pushed myself far and beyond I had ever done before. So I knew I was more than ready to do it. I knew then, though, the last part was the psychological part.
Yeah.
So can you hold it all together? and I think he had one little wobble in the. I think it was the end of the 6th round, which is often the worst part of a 12-rounder.
Yeah,
because you're halfway, and you can easily be fucked at the end of 6 rounds, and you're thinking, I've got another 6.
I'm only halfway, and I'm
halfway. And Oliver was vital.
Yeah,
Oliver was so important in that corner because he kept me relaxed, he kept me calm, and he says, "Don't worry about it. You're halfway, but get your breath back. You'll be fine." And 40 seconds later, I was absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So that was the confidence in my coach and my conditioning.
Yeah.
And I actually remember why by the time we got to the point where when you get to the 6th, 7th round in that fight, the Macklin fight, it's just fucking horrendous. But I actually remember enjoying it. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a fucking brilliant fight while I was in the fight.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But I'd been in Fight of the year before with Michael Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember thinking in about the 4th and 5th, fucking hell, it's a good fight.
Respect, let's do it.
But I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I got out of the ring and everyone was going, fucking hell, what fight that was. And I thought, oh yeah, I thought it was a good fight.
Yeah, yeah.
So I sort of knew in the Macklin fight, this was better than the last one.
Yeah, yeah.
So the ultimate thing for me there is the sport I love and the people I've idolised for years and looked up to come up to me or have come up to me at different boxing events and mention that fight to me.
Yeah.
And people still now to this day, they'll come up to me at a boxing show. Without a doubt, one person at least at every show will come up to me and talk to me about that fight. Now, to leave a mark on the sport you love in that way, for me, is the ultimate
It's legacy.
prize. Never mind belts. It's that, you know, that's probably the most proudest achievement as a personal achievement is the fact that people still talk about one of my fights now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, mate. I suppose it's that old saying: train hard, fight easy.
Yeah, yeah. I wish it was easy.
Well, easier than. I
wouldn't have got through that fight. I wouldn't have got through it if it wasn't for Oliver, because Oliver's tactics were spot on.
Yeah.
And Macklin would have been too big and too strong for me.
Yeah.
So I had to use his advantages, his strengths as his weaknesses. We had to flip it on him, and it was a very smart game plan.
Yeah. So moving on now towards the back end of your career, we've touched a little bit on retirement. And now you're into training, coaching.
Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for your trainers now? Obviously, you're going to have all the tactics in the world.
Yeah.
But you can't be, like you spoke about the psychological side of it.
Yeah.
And Oliver being amazing for you on that. What is your sort of key to you've got an amazing stable now. What are you trying to push these guys and girls into when the times get tough? Are you more of a supportive type coach where it's like, it's going to be all right, or some people need to kick up the arse and it's like, come on, what the fuck are you doing?
I think
do you know it's individual?
Yeah, I think one of the most important aspects of being a good coach, I believe, is being a bit versatile.
Yeah.
You can't treat everyone, it's not one size fits all as a boxing coach, because they're all individually different. They've all got different personalities. Yeah. Some of them need a cuddle. Some of them need a bollocking.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's just life. That's how life is in general. I think the main aspect, we're lucky in a sense. The amateur club I run, the coaches are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
Unbelievable people, like we talked about before, very much in this same mind frame as us about giving back and stuff, and they want to help people achieve what they want to achieve. They do a lot of the hard work, because fundamentally, when a pro comes to me now, especially because we've done well for ourselves, they'll be a very good amateur.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff what I have to do then is little adjustments, little adaptations, but I work a lot with them from a psychological point of view.
Yeah.
Because for me, once you can box, once you can fight, that's a massive key aspect into success.
Yeah.
Your mindset and understanding that things don't happen overnight, and you've got to be patient. You've just got to trust the process. Notice that. Don't try and recognise an improvement by the end of the week. Wait till halfway through the year, and then watch a video back of how you sparred 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And then, so because if you're looking for it every week, you're not going to notice it and you're going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
So that's psychology. That's not a physical or a technical aspect. That's just making them understand that, again, it's like a life lesson.
Yeah.
These sort of things you can put into any aspect of a life in a sense. You know, you could probably do it to someone who's doing shares on Wall Street and go, you know, you need to learn the lessons and don't think it's going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
These are just life lessons. And I think if you do it with a bit of empathy and kindness, people always know that you're doing it for the right reason. And because the way I go about my job is I don't do it for money.
No.
I never even started this for money. I was doing it to help Tommy Coyle out.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Good bloke, Tommy.
Great kid. Love him to bits. He's like a son to me.
Tommy, you coming on the podcast, lad?
Yeah, we'll get Tommy on, no problem. So with Tommy, it was like I was doing him a favour.
Yeah.
Because he'd asked Steve Wood if I could help him out. So the way I go about the job is I want to help the fighter achieve whatever they want. It's nothing to do with me. It's their career.
Yeah.
And they come to me asking for help. And then as a bonus, I get paid for it.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Because fucking money is the root of all evil. We all need it. You know, it's stupid. You know, I'm not naive enough to think nobody needs it. Of course we do. But if you focus on it, you do it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I've never gone about it like that way. If I keep my heart in the right place and do it for the right reasons, and I want the fighters to achieve, and the gratitude they show after they've achieved their achievements, for me, is worth more than any money what I ever get paid. So as a knock-on effect, then I get paid for it. It's fucking the best job in the world.
And you're making relationships for life.
Yeah.
You know, I still speak to my trainer back in Australia. I still speak to you all the time. Like, because it's such an intimate, trustworthy relationship.
Yeah.
Like, because let's cut the shit here. Like, your trainer has your life in your hands when you step in the ring.
Absolutely.
So you have to have ultimate trust in your trainer that if the shit hits the fan, they're going to throw that towel in.
Yeah,
or vice versa, whatever it looks like. Instead of chasing the money, if he gets to round 10, he gets a bonus. Whatever it looks like, right? So you don't just, you don't just make money as an occupation, but you build lasting, lifelong friendships and brotherhoods and sisterhoods, which it's hard to get anywhere else, mate, is it?
You can't create them.
No.
Like, it's so organic, and trust a massive part of life.
Organic. Your money's coming organically because it's come from a place of fucking trying to help and love.
I'm a big believer in the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And, you know, give to receive is one of their little mottos, and I understand it, but I don't give to receive. In fact, I'm telling lies.
What are you receiving? You're receiving the fulfillment of doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's a big thing to know.
Of course. So, and I only realised this a couple of years ago. I was having a conversation like this. People go, oh, you do so many things for so many people. You're so unselfish. And I sort of went, it's not really. It's a very selfish aspect to it. The selfish aspect to it is I feel so good after it.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking drug.
Yep.
So, am I that unselfish? So now, I'd rather do that and help other people all day long and have that fulfillment and satisfaction afterwards, rather than do it and I expect to get paid at the end of it every day of the week.
Yeah.
So it's not as unselfish as people think, although it's still...
You're still getting your buzz.
Exactly. It's win-win.
Yeah.
No one's losing out.
No. Nah. Let's go a little bit off topic here. A bit of acting. A bit of Peaky Blinders.
I got filled in again.
It's common theme here.
But,
what was that like, mate? Like, obviously,
mate, you know,
Peaky Blinders, massive show with your good mate Nige as well.
Yeah.
So
it came out of the blue. So obviously, as you'd imagine, the first series, it's never been out before. Me and Nige and the girls, Cillian and Susie, have been out on the drink.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone back to Nige's house. We're just having a glass of wine. We're all sat chilled out. Nige says, "Hey," so his phone pings, and it's the casting director saying, have you got any fighters in your gym who'd like to be play a part in Peaky Blinders as part of your family? So he'd already got a part.
Right, okay.
So he goes, oi, do you want to be in this programme I'm going to be in? So
Easy.
I was like, what's this? He said, this thing called Peaky Blinders. Apparently it's going to be massive. So I just went, so I've had a fucking beer, haven't I? You know what I mean? So yeah, fuck it, why
Let's
not?
do it.
So he just went, boom, took a picture of me, sent it her, and she went, yep, sound, no problem, he can do it. Can he come to the rehearsals next week? Fucking never done acting in my life. So it's a funny story. So we've gone to the rehearsals for the fighting scene in Leeds. Gets in there, and I've never done anything like this before, and I didn't realise how boring acting can be because a lot of it's just waiting around.
Yeah.
So we're there for say 3 or 4 hours. So I'm sat in this green room, fucking pissed off because I'm thinking I'm sorry I've committed to this now. I can spend better hours in the day than sat in this room waiting. There's a few of us sat around. So Nigel sat over there. So I says, "What's happening, mate? You all right?" Yeah. I said, "Fucking boring, all this shit, innit?" He's like, "Yeah, it can be, yeah." I said, "How long have you been doing this?" I said, "Fucking about 20 years now." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Fucking hell, have you been in anything good?" He's like, yeah. The Dark Knight Rises. Snarge goes, "That's Cillian Murphy, you fucking knob." I was like, "What?" I said, "Oh, mate, I'm sorry, I didn't fucking realise." So I felt like a prick then, you know what I mean? Anyway, as it goes, he was sound.
Yeah.
So then, and because of that...
He probably appreciated it. You didn't fangirl over him.
Because then, when we was actually on set then, he was fucking lovely. He was really sound. And to be fair, a lot of the main actors, from what I gathered on that set anyway, they'll do a little scene, and then as soon as they're finished, someone comes and puts a coat over the shoulders, and they fucking walk off into their own little cabin.
You didn't have a coat man in a cabin?
Yeah. Cillian Murphy, us and all the bit part players all stood around having a coffee, having a chat. He'd come and stand with us and chat away. He was a fucking lovely guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got filled in around the campfire, and then we went and rubbed the bookies.
How close were you to getting filled in real life, like with the fight scene, like in terms of, do they hit you or what happens?
No, it's like, you know, when you have a fight with your little brother as a kid and you let him win. I let him win, obviously.
Of course you did. Jamie Moore didn't lose, your character
I
lost.
made it look like I helped him out. I, in fact, probably got him like an Academy Award or something. You know,
so you should have gotten a best supporting actor.
Exactly, without a doubt.
Right,
in fact, I've missed my fucking way here.
Yeah, all right, let's go.
I need an agent.
Nige.
Yeah, fucking hell. Don't start him off on agents, fucking hell.
Oh, mate.
That's all he bangs on about is his agent. He never stops. Nigel, fucking stop, man.
You've heard it, Nige. You're watching. Mate, this has been really fun, really good. I don't think as men we give each other credit for doing good shit. I feel like it's easy to go, slag you off as a banter, and there's more banter.
Yeah.
But the more I've heard of your story today, I just want to give you a massive respect and thank you for what you're doing for the communities. Thank you for what you're doing for boxing. You're a role model for your kids, the kids in the community. You're a role model for me, and I say this with a genuine heart. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your story, because I feel like the more good stories, even though we've all been through shit, the more good stories we can share, it might just give someone some hope.
Yeah. Do you know, these have been nice stories. There's a lot of bad stories. We could sit here for another hour and talk about.
We'll rebook you next month.
Yeah, no, listen, like these. I think I've spoke about a lot of the stuff of the experiences. I've been lucky enough to be in a position where I've been able to pass that conveyor belt stuff, and you're giving it back. I've also found myself in a position where people who've been in bad situations, we've been able to help them out as well and pull them out of it. And you know, some of my close friends, some people who I've never met before in my life, who've reached out. And you know, social media is a horrible place sometimes, but there's some good sides to it, and the good sides to it, in my eyes, are some of the people who I've been able to help out have reached out to me on social media, and you know, at the time, a lot of the time, I didn't even realise I was gonna eventually help them out.
Yeah,
I just, you know, one time somebody asked me for a T-shirt, I sent him a T-shirt. And then, I mean, this is a long story, and it's a fucking unbelievable story, but sending him a T-shirt basically saved his life, because the postman knocked on his door at the point in time when he was going to take his own life.
Fuck.
And and I'd rushed to post the T-shirt to him because it was Christmas.
Right.
And I didn't want it to get caught up in the Christmas post and him not get it before Christmas. And then he wrote me a letter and told me the story. And I went fucking white, and I was going, why did I fucking rush out that day? Something told me
The universe
to go and, something said, go and post that T-shirt now because you don't want it to get caught. Now, if I'd have not fucking posted it, like literally that day, at that time, he won't be here with us now.
Fuck.
And that I'm no exaggeration. I've got about 3 or 4 different stories like that. So there's loads of aspects. You know, people aren't encouraged enough, I don't believe, to follow the gut instinct.
Mate, it's massive.
It's huge. It's there for a reason.
Exactly.
And quite a few times I've followed it. Sometimes thinking, what the fuck are you doing? You're going too much out of your way now. And then afterwards, in hindsight, I've gone, thank fuck I've done that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have to come on here, mate, but your gut was right to come on.
Yeah, no, you know what? I've enjoyed it.
Cool, man. So, the last question I always ask our guests, what does success look like to Jamie Moore? What do you determine as success?
Happiness.
That's easy.
Because ultimately in life, everybody wants to be happy. And, you know, whether that means you've got a big house, a small house, but you're secure, you've got love, you know, ultimately everything comes back to happiness. If we're happy, we're content. My social media profile is the richest person in the world. He's not the one who has the most, he's the one who needs the least.
Yeah.
And it's true.
It's all perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
I don't see being wealthy as being having how much money you've got in the bank. I see it as how much love's in your life.
Yeah. Love it, man. It's crazy. Everyone I've asked, it's always been generated towards others' happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's actually really refreshing to hear everyone's version of success is actually they sort of become second to people around them. Do you know what I mean?
That.
Yeah.
I was like that.
It's refreshing to see.
And it took me to get to a pretty bad place by trying to help other people. A good friend of mine, I told him the story, and he said, I'm going to send you a song now, and listen to the words, and you'll understand. And it was Ed Sheeran, Save Myself. And it talked about in giving everything to everyone to try and help them out, but ultimately, before you can help anyone else, you've got to save yourself.
Yeah.
And it's true. So if I'm happy, then it gives me the opportunity to make more people happy, but ultimately I've got to make sure I'm in a good place first. Otherwise, it's fucking pointless, isn't it?
100%, mate. You can't give what you don't have.
Exactly that.
But yeah, Jay, really appreciate it, man. Been an absolute pleasure.
Good to see you, Colin.
We'll do it again.
Anytime you want, mate. I've got about 1 million stories.
Yeah.